Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I really wish the largest drug kingpins the planet has ever seen teamed up and did a crossover with Lockheed Martin? Hey guys, it's Messier82 back with a completely normal Flyout video, of course. So, as you guys saw, maybe, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I had a video on a heli home, I'll probably link it now, but we made a flying Winnebago. Maybe some chemistry teacher with lung cancer bought it to cook drugs in. Because that's totally never been done before, right guys? Anyways, so the idea is, how will we smuggle those drugs into different countries? Obviously, the drug kingpins of the Flyout world will need their own fleet of air vehicles to transport this. Now, drug kingpins, how is that a thing? Well, you see, in my community-built world, if anyone wants to join that, feel free to join in the description below to my server. But, like, I swear, a solid quarter of the countries are corporatist hellholes, like, literally owned by a company, and then, like, literally, a corporation owns the entire government. And then the other few are, like, the lib rights wet dream. Like, pure anarcho-capitalism. It's complete nonsense. This means two things. Firstly, I'd imagine in those more libertarian countries the rules may be more lax, per se, or maybe the governments could simply be poorly funded. This allows for syndicates operating for the sake of things like selling drugs or weapons to exist. Secondly, since the laws are so lax and so many companies are only driven by a simple profit incentive, I also believe that the drug kingpin with the right connections could absolutely buy an AIM-9 from a missile company. In fact, due to ease of production and the wildest level of competition I've ever seen, like I'm telling you the guys, there's like 20 different internationally operating aerospace companies building missiles and stuff. Like, the price of missiles is probably insanely low here. But my point is, it may be inexpensive to mount such missiles to craft, especially for the protection and the damage it could deal. Again, just like pure anarcho-capitalism here. But because of this, I believe that drug dealers may arm their planes in the event of an interception or in the event of a rival drug empire attempting to steal their stuff. What I'm saying is, because of the horrific world you guys built, I full-heartedly believe it is entirely possible for drug empires to have air-to-air combat over international waters along their smuggling routes. Wow, that was a loaded sentence. The problem with this is, obviously if a country sees a Cessna with AIM-9s or Stingers under the wings flying over their airspace, they'd obviously see it as a threat, and if they had the means to, they'd probably try and shoot it down or, you know, arrest the guy when he lands. Now when it's parked, it'll probably be on some backcountry airfield and completely out of sight of cops and civilians. When in the air, however, we do need some basic concealment to prevent people from seeing it in low airspace over countries. Now ideally, I'd be mounting a missile more similar to a Stinger. Lightweight, easily concealable, and cheaper. In my opinion, that's a far better drug kingpin weapon. Hell, at this point, drug empires and corporations basically have their own mini air force. But alas, Stingers and similar missile systems are not in Flyout yet, so I'll have to work with what I have, and what I have is just an AIM-9M. By now, I'm sure you guys see that this thing does have an unusual cockpit as well. The weapons concealment is exactly why. Okay, it's part of the reason why. Okay, it was actually none of the reason why at first. What happened was I tried to drag the vertexes up to make the cockpit shape, but I missed one in the middle. And wait a minute, this could make a really cool dual cockpit thing. And then oh crap. Just hit myself. Then I basically came up with like a reason for that cockpit to exist as I built. I'm like, you know what, we could totally conceal guns in here, you know, just have the panels retract so that way in the middle of those panels retracting, it just looks like a normal cockpit. But anyways, yeah, that's my point. Later on, I add guns in between and panels that retract and extend. This is so when it's flying over a town or whatever, it just looks like a normal plane. It just looks like a normal cockpit with unusually thick center bar. But when we get to altitude, its true nature is revealed. The twin pit, with its two synchronized 15mm cannons, has an adjustable elevation controlled by either the co-pilot or the pilot in case the enemy is above, because this thing isn't exactly super maneuverable. In order to learn how to make these retractable panels, my friends in the Flyout Discord taught me how to actuate with ease. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Jimmy's getting fun tonight. Yeah, we don't talk about that. But anyways, this thing wasn't just a normal plane, it needed a little bit more power and a little bit more maneuverability in order to throw off any hostile aircraft on its six. Powered by a 9.0 liter turbocharged liquid-cooled V8 engine, this plane had the same performance that you could expect out of an early warbird of World War II. Pushing the airframe above even 300 miles an hour TAS at altitude in a straight line, this plane could climb to cruising altitude of 5 kilometers with ease, utilizing its overboosted and intercooled turbochargers for better compression at altitude. The reinforced airframe and powerful engine not only allowed for the craft to ferry heavy drug payloads with ease, but also gave it some limited maneuverability in the event of combat. Who knows, maybe this is like a lower down drug company. Maybe the big guys take larger cargo aircraft with escorts. I mean, after all, look at this thing. It's basically the sky equivalent of some clapped out Nissan Altima, some 19-year-old with a death wish modified to hell and back. I'd assume that, you know, the big guys up top would probably have better planes than this, but who knows, maybe even better missiles. Maybe it's like first world country level of technologies when you get to like the actual kingpins of the industry. Again, who knows, but anyways, because of this 19-year-old with a death wish archetype here, I'm actually adding a lot of weathering and rust to the fuselage to almost make it look like it's some plane a guy got for cheap and is ready to start as some low-level crook, slowly making his way up the crime empire food chain until he has cargo planes and fighters like the rest of them. Also, the switches for these controls are in fact hidden in case the plane just so happens to be observed on the ground. The gun sight is also flip-off for this exact reason. Basically, I'm making the best effort to make this thing look like just a normal plane at a glance. Even if it doesn't look perfectly normal or it's a little unusual, it needs to be just enough that you'd have to seriously investigate the plane to realize its capabilities, past a simple glance at some rusty plane. Basically, it's like hiding in plain sight. Oh my god, my puns are awful, guys. I'm sorry. So guys, basically that bottom line there is gonna be the flight plan I'll be taking. This is about, I don't know, about 350 kilometers of distance. It's a southern nation in the winter known as USSI. The temps are below freezing here, but drugs are still processed. Imagine the southern location on the map similar to Argentina. Basically, we'll be flying from an island on the USSI, just an hour by car out from the capital in an unpopulated valley. From this valley, we will fly approximately 350 kilometers into Prusnian airspace, and Prusnia is just the greenish country on the bottom. From there, we will touch down in a field, I guess, which is a few miles out from a small town. Flying bearing about 227 for approximately 350 clicks should put us in visual range of the field provided the weather holds out. Spoilers, it doesn't. But anyways, we don't have a lot of time to work with either since it's the winter. We only get a few hours of sunlight a day, and the field has no lights for us to land at in order to keep it concealed. Plus, early in the night, the moon will not be out, meaning we'll get basically no light to land. So unfortunately, this drug smuggling route will have to be run in the daytime. Well, good thing our plane has concealment for its weapons then, huh? So with our missile bay, our concealed guns, our powerful engine and reinforced airframe, as well as our flight plan, we were ready to fly. Alright guys, so this flight's gonna go pretty simple. As I mentioned earlier, we're flying bearing 227 for this flight. What's going to happen as we fly is, once we get over the ocean, I'm going to spawn in a target drone that acts as a hostile drug company interceptor, or maybe just some other aircraft that we've decided to shoot down for some reason. We're gonna test out our weapons, basically. Now, honestly, in this thing, I don't plan to catch a target drone and get the gun kill, because that thing's way faster than I am, but I can absolutely kill it with my missile. As you can see, there is apparently a lot of anarchy in this area, so I guess that's the only reason things like this are allowed, but you know what, I'll take it. Anarchy and drug smuggling with missiles, of course. You know, I guess this is kind of what happens when I run out of ideas for a video. Actually, you know what, more on that later. We're about to kill this drone. So I spawned the drone behind me. Luckily it's heading directly for me, but I tried to turn around to intercept it here, end up failing. I'm not maneuverable enough to do that, so I basically just turned back on my original course and then aim to shoot him down as he passes. Obviously it's an AIM-9M here, and it can do basically all the work for me, so I'm not too worried about it. We've got almost 2 tons worth of drugs in the back of this thing. That's my simulated weight for this flight. So I can't exactly say I'm surprised it's not very maneuverable. But there you have it. We splash the drone with our missile and we are back on our normal flight plan. If you look in front of us, there is a lot of clouds. This is a gigantic cloud system and gigantic storm system. I basically have no way of seeing, like, all the way from here to my destination. Like, the entire flight there are clouds. There are no breaks in the clouds whatsoever on this flight over. Maybe like 1 or 2 small ones, but... So yeah, I was very cautious when I eventually try and touch down to not hit anything on my way through the clouds. The cloud ceiling's luckily high enough where I have a good amount of visibility before the ground, but more on that later. I've basically just got this in 10 times speed, so it's a little bit easier for all of us to watch. Obviously, you guys aren't going to be sitting here for the entire hour-long flight. But as I was saying, this is kind of what happens when I run out of ideas in videos, isn't it? I just make the absolute wildest, crazy stuff. And you know what, I'll say it, it's not exactly my suggestion this time. I was talking to some of my friends, and Jag, you may know him from the Flyout server or from my server. He just said I should make a drug smuggling plane as a joke. Now, instead of just saying, haha, that would be funny, I've actually made one. So, thanks for the idea, I guess, Jag. I have no clue how serious you were, but either way, it's gonna be a real plane now. And something that's kind of cool is, since this is so close to the, Antarctic Circle on this planet, and it's the winter time, the sun always stays in a very, very low angle in the sky. So we always get this sort of goldish hue around everything, even when it's just a super cloudy day. You know, honestly, I feel like it's never just not cloudy in Flyout. It's always cloudy, especially around places like this. I don't know, some places just have more clouds than others. But as I was saying, it is the winter time, and it is like -5, -6 degrees Celsius at the ground, and at our current altitude it's about -25 degrees Celsius. Very chilly. Well, I definitely hope our plane has a heating system, or else we're gonna be freezing in there. Well, you just take your jacket, I guess. That works too. So basically, I've been above the clouds for a while now. I'm just skipping ahead because during this flight, there is literally nothing interesting that happens. The only thing you see is clouds, and it's just so irritating. So I decided to skip ahead to the end. You guys won't get to see any of the islands, unfortunately, but that's alright. And yeah, people say that this is a very temperate, warm-looking climate on the Flyout map, which it does look that way, but it is literally like -5 right now. It is freezing out. It should be snowing. This should be covered in snow. It's just not on the Flyout map. Anyways, as you can see, we dive below the clouds, and lucky enough for us, we come out directly above the field that I was hoping to land in. I did do a little bit of scouting beforehand to see if there was a field there, and there was. And then that was before taking this flight. So I guess I chose the perfect time to dive below the clouds, and that was a perfect flight. We're basically going blind here, you know, we're basically using VFR rules here in a very much IFR day. But, you know, we make it all the way to the ground safely where we can drop off our drugs and then, you know, probably fly home before the day ends. Nobody suspected a thing, right? Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I do hope to see you in the next one. Until then, everyone, goodbye.